What you know about Liddy Waters, also known as Lindy Waters III, 26-year-old journeyman who had been with the Oklahoma City Thunder's G League affiliate, was converted to a two-way contract. Then the contract was converted into a full-on 2-year deal. And look, I get it. We're all sitting around waiting for the big move. Paul George, something. We got to do something, right? And regardless of where your draft pick is, whether it's 12th or 52nd, there is a new car smell that comes with a draft pick that we all want, right? Where there's just the unknown possibility of potential. It's new, right? And we've missed out on that with this trade. But if you take a step back and kind of look at this thing big picture perspective, Lindell Waters, if you went and looked at his G League tape and said, okay, this is who you take at 56 or 52, a lot of y'all would be hyped, right? And I think it is these types of shrewd moves that add up and allow you to make the big moves. Credit is a touchy subject. No one really wants to talk about it. You've either dealt with issues in the past, maybe you're dealing with some now, or you're a young adult looking to establish your credit right now. And that was the case in my house. 3 young adults, all looking to establish their credit. And what I didn't want them to do was go get a department store card and have that temptation. And that is where Kickoff was the perfect solution. Kikoff. Download it on your phone and get started in minutes. For as little as $5 a month, you set it to auto pay and you just watch your good credit history continue to build up. Now, Kickoff users with credit under 600 increased their credit by an average of 30 points in the first month using the world's greatest credit building app, Kickoff. So join over 1 million people building their credit with a Kickoff account today. Now get your first month for $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you go to kickoff.com/alchemy today. That's Kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/alchemy. Must sign up via getkickoff.com/alchemy to activate the offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Average impact of a 30-point increase in first month based on Equifax Vantage Score 3.0. Changes for Kickoff premium customers with starting credit below 600 who made their first on-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Payment and credit activity outside of Kickoff can have an impact on your credit. Terms and conditions may apply. Offer subject to change. Individual results may vary. I'm not going to sit here in front like I was familiar with him. 26 years old, 6'6", 210 pounds. Played high school basketball with Trae Young. He is an Oklahoma native, 4 years at Oklahoma State, and he is a shooter. He is a shooter. The release, it's so smooth and consistent. I waited an hour or two to go look at some G League, some tape. I didn't want to just break the news. I wanted to give you some thoughts on it, right? And obviously, I've just done the highlight binging. But the release, it's super consistently smooth. Like there's a really nice pace to his game and he lets it go like he expects it to go in, like he's leaving that thing, right? And he's got a nice base, a nice balance. And he is Native American. That, a lot of people, maybe he's light skinned, you see the braids, but he is Native American, again, from Oklahoma. And actually out here in Arizona, I wasn't really aware of this living in the Bay, but once I've moved out here, my daughters have been through the whole circuit of basketball. Native American culture has a super rich history in basketball, man. And I didn't know that till I was out here. But and I mean this with all due respect, but generally speaking, they call it res ball out here. When you're playing a native team or there's a bunch of native players on a team, they're going to play super fast, they're going to move the ball quickly, and they're all going to shoot. But generally speaking, like they're tough, competitive, and really smart players. It's a fun brand of basketball. And I don't want to typecast this kid like that, but I think it's cool that he is of that descent. And again, they have a far richer history with hoops than I think a lot of people realize. I also like the fact that he has been in the Oklahoma City ethos. Because they draft well outside of Poku, but they seem to develop players well. And you look at Dort, Wiggins, Isaiah Joe came from somewhere else, right? But it's just a smart organization And so the fact that they got him from there also, I think, is a good sign. Looking at his G League highlights, he had a career high 34 like 3 months ago against guess who? Santa Cruz Warriors. So that might have been when he got on the map for this, perhaps decision. And as far as from OKC side, look, he's a local kid. He went to high school in Oklahoma, went to Oklahoma State. It feels maybe like they're probably trying to do right by him by sending him to a better opportunity. They're so loaded, right, with so many guys. It's like he's not going to play. Let's let him, get an opportunity. But I like the fact, sometimes you say journeyman and it's like, oh, he was a lottery pick and he didn't make it there. And then he didn't make it there. And he just kept getting opportunities because of the talent and the status of his pedigree, right? But when you say journeyman from a guy that went undrafted to get picked up on a G League team, to got a two-way, to got a full contract, that's a different type of journeyman. It's not like he's bounced around teams. It's just been quite the journey to where he's at. But what that does is it weeds out all weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly he loves the game and he looks the part, man. He's smooth, and what did he shoot? 37% from three in his few years at Oklahoma. He played OKC. He played mostly 21-22. His minutes tapered off as they got better and the roster got deeper again. So now there's not a spot for him. And so, yeah, I was disappointed when the news broke because, yeah, we all want that new car smell of the draft picks and we're not going to get it. But again, 26 years old, pure shooter, and come from a good organization where he's clawed his way to being an NBA player. I think that bodes well. And if they can find this diamond in the rough here and get a backup two guard who spreads the floor and is smart and fits the system on the cheap like this, these are the moves that allow the bigger moves to happen. I can't front though. When I saw his shooting and looked at his profile and stuff, I was like, oh, Clay up out of here, right? As part of this move, Clay insurance, because you imagine, I don't know how many bigs. When you're drafting for a big in the second round, that's tough. That's slim pickings. But I think we all have our eyes on getting bigger here, right? And they get another, he's got some length and some size at the two spot, but he's not going to add size to your team. And I was like, dang, man, maybe this is just really a sign. It's more Clay insurance, perhaps insurance because Moody's going to be packaged in a deal. So I look at this as kind of the precursor to maybe the bigger moves that are going to unfold in this next week. And I know everybody is getting zealous for that, but I like him. He's smooth and he looks like an NBA player. So we'll see. As far as the rest of the draft goes, I didn't do much scouting because, well, the Warriors didn't have a first round pick. And let's be real, this was kind of an unknown draft here, right? It was like, where do you begin? Where do you end with this stuff? But I tuned in last night, and first things first, Stephen A. Smith's an abomination. Like, it almost seems like he's playing a game of how many words he can fit in before he has to take a breath. And you see Bob Myers. Bob does a good job kind of diffusing it, but I'd love to hear what Bob has to say about Stephen A. behind closed doors. But anyway, let's talk about the draft. The French kid goes number one. It was the most international draft ever, was it? I thought he was like 6'6". I don't know why. I thought he was smaller, but the fact that he's 6'8", 9-ish, and that long, I think that bodes well for his versatility. When you get these toolsy utility guys, you want him to be like more of a 4, in my opinion, in today's game. Alex Sarr, he screams bust, I think, to a lot of us. I'm not breaking news here, but just his posture, his face, the way he talks, I don't know, man. And then Reed Shepherd, look, he's going to be solid, I think, but when my initial thoughts looking at the top 3 was like, could this be the worst top 3 of all time? Like when we look back in hindsight, I mean, I could be completely off with that, but that top 3, I think it has some potential to just be like, ooh, did you see that? Right. I liked the Castle pick for the Spurs at number 4, but what you're seeing is, what was there, 3 French players in the first 6? It's the Wemby effect, right? I think we all see it, but you look at the game today, Jokic, Luka, Wemby, right? And so all these teams are being much more aggressive, taking swings on these international players. And then what goes around comes around. after half of these guys end up looking like Killian Hayes in 2 or 3 years, right? Then you're going to see teams probably get more wary of the international prospects like we've seen before, right? Everything comes full circle, but you're seeing this influx of European players, French guys in particular, right? Or do they have basketball schools out there? Is that what they're doing now? Edey going to Memphis kind of irked me. Not because I think he's going to be like some sort of dominant force, but I just feel like whenever the Warriors play Memphis, he's going to kill us, right? It's going to be like, here comes Edey, and he's just going to be putting Loon in the basket, and it'll just be a thing. I think him going there is good for him, though. I know that, Ja wants to play fast and all that, but it's such a solid organization developmentally in how they structure things. I think that that's a good pick for them. But yeah, I got to wait for Summer League preseason to even evaluate. I can't even tell you what the hits were. You know what I'm saying? But Suns drafted the kid I scouted, Oso Ighodaro. Is it Osa or Oso? He's a local product, Chandler, Arizona. And I think that's a really good fit for the Suns when you look at all the offense they have. Beal, KD, Booker, obviously, all these scores. And he's that dribble handoff screen specialist. He's got an elite float game. So I thought that was a good pick. I had my eye on him for the Warriors, but we're out of this thing. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the draft. Bronny, has he gone yet? I was kind of trying to wait for the draft to be over because I had a little bit of hope we were going to trade back into this thing, but it ain't happening. Listen, Bronny, man, I think anywhere in the second round is fine. I know, people don't like the nepotism and all this stuff, and he's undersized, but the pedigree, and he's still an A-level athlete. I think people are overstating his lack of size, because when you consider the strength, the explosiveness, the verticality, if he can hang his hat on defense, I would model my game if I was Bronny like Marcus Smart or like a Caruso, and he just come out there and just be a pest, win the loose balls, pick up 94 feet and be that guy. I mean, teams would take that guy in a 20, right? So I'm curious to see where he ends up, if he's held ransom or not. But other than that, I think we're all waiting on this Paul George, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson news. Are we going to get it over this weekend? Is it going to get stretched out into next week? Your guess is as good as mine, but when the news does break, I'll be on here to cover it. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.